humanities teacher Sheba Hart has an affair with her 15-year-old student, a secret liaison that threatens to become public when another teacher named Barbara Kovac finds out. Art teacher Sheba Hart arrives at the school for a new job. Sheba's life is far from joyful. Her husband is much older than her and is fit to be her father. Daughter, son with Down syndrome, perpetual family routine, cold, loneliness, and even the bullying antics of her willful pupils. The story in the film is told from the perspective of another teacher named Barbara Kovac, who has her own views on the world. The elderly woman, who has been teaching at the same school for many years, is very strict and routinely disciplines the students, and then goes to feed the only creature close to her, her cat named Portia. Everyone is trying to get acquainted with the newcomer. Everyone likes her, and even the chubby Hodge stuck to her immediately. A dubious pair, a blonde and a chubby pig in pants. Barbara witnesses the real chaos unfolding in the art class, where Sheba teaches. The 10th grade has rebelled, torn down posters, and are behaving extremely disgustingly. Barbara decides to help the new teacher. It turns out that one of the students named Stephen Connolly stood up for the teacher, resulting in a fight. Stephen claims that another student called Miss Attard, and he tried to defend her honor. Being able to solve such problems in a flash, the old school teacher quickly brings the two brawlers out into the open and reprimands them properly, making them apologize. Sheba is very grateful to her for the support and is very glad that they finally met. After a while, Barbara invites Sheba to go for coffee after school. Another teacher joins them, and the three of them go to the cafe. Spending some time there, Sheba invites Barbara to her place on Sunday to meet her family, have lunch, and get to know each other better. What a joy! A bright ray of sunshine in the Arctic desert of lonely weekdays. There is an invitation. One must also look appropriate. Arriving at her home, Barbara is somewhat disappointed. She expected to see a young, courteous lawyer and two well-mannered children. Not at all like this. She is married to an elderly patriarch almost her age, and there's also this court jester. As a son with Down syndrome, a rogue image formed in her mind. Her hubby's pruny old mouth pursed at Sheba's breast. Hart shows his guest his room, in the form of a workshop where he spends a lot of time, isolating himself from everyone, and begins to tell her about himself. She spoke of her vile mother, her grief over the death of her father, the glory days when her current husband, Richard, entered into intimate contact with her and then abandoned his wife and children for what she calls a celebration of intimacy, a curious trait of the middle class, to become immediate incautious intimacy. But Sheba went well beyond the tendencies of our class. She was utterly candid, a novice, confessing to the mother superior. After their meeting, it turns out that Barbara, an elderly middle school teacher, keeps a diary that abounds not with what it should abound with. No prying, curious glance will find any pedagogical revelations and touching outpourings of love for her students there. It's not like Averbach's Stranger's Letters. Don't even hope. In it, she describes her new relationship with Sheba, about the spiritual recognition that they are both lonely and so alike, how they, in a different, better age, would be ladies of high society, companions. Everything changes when one day Kovac catches her newfound friend having intimacy with her 15-year-old student, Stephen Connolly. After recovering from what she saw the next day, she calls Sheba and tells her that she doubtless committed a criminal offense. They need to meet to talk. Meeting up, they head to the pub, and Sheba begins to narrate the story of how it all happened. She recounts that Stephen came to her after classes and offered to look at his drawings. Sheba considered his works very good, calling him an artist. She promised that she would teach him after school if he felt like it, undoubtedly during the allotted hours and following the curriculum. Sheba was very excited to finally find someone who truly wanted to learn. He came to her every day for 2 weeks. She had suspected his motives. She sensed he had a little crush on her. But so what? The love was platonic. At some point, she touches him on the head, to which Stephen asks her to do that again. After that, he starts asking her personal questions, whether she a good cook, whether she will invite him over. Sheba understands everything and asks him to go home. That's when she should have stopped it. She seemed to have done just that, saying that she wouldn't teach him anymore, but he refused to accept it and kept coming back. He just starts pursuing her everywhere, those constant sidelong glances, thirsting for something he himself doesn't understand. One day, he approaches her and asks her to come for a walk with him, to which she responds with a categorical refusal. But then he starts telling her that his father hits him, and his mother doesn't know about it. She's in the hospital. Sheba asks him to tell her about it next time. Stephen thanks her for the support, saying she's beautiful, and doesn't know how beautiful she is. Sheba pours her heart out, complaining about her life and her loneliness, saying that she's always followed the rules. But this time, she decided she'd earned the right. And despite the boy being 15 years old, she enjoyed the attention from him. One evening, she tells her husband that her friend Sue phoned, and she meet her for a drink. But instead, she goes to meet Stephen. They go to the railway tracks and engage in that right there. Dirty, nasty, and very disgusting. Sheba tells Stephen that it's incredibly important to keep this secret, because they'll both get into terrible trouble if it all comes out. Afterward, they converse. Stephen tells her that she's very attractive and gives her other compliments. As they are about to leave, Stephen asks her if she wants to do it again.
Yes. I want to do it again.
Barbara wonders if they have already had it when they met, and she says yes. Sheba tells Kovet that she wanted to confess to her about it, but she just couldn't. At that moment, Barbara's fury blinded her from everything she heard, and she realizes that she has a magnificent opportunity. Acting judiciously, she could gain everything from Sheba by doing nothing. Sheba realizes that Barbara is compelled to report everything to the headmaster and asks her wait till the new year, so she has this Christmas with her family, understanding that she faces a sentence for such actions. Kovet says she is not going to report her. She wants to help Sheba, to support her through this, especially since who would it benefit? Not Sheba, not the boy, not the school. No, this is a private matter. Keep it so. Sheba asks maybe she should resign, but Barbara says it's not worth it. That might alert suspicion. She must stay. But the affair must end, and she asks her to promise her that she will finish it all. Sheba thanks her true friend who helped her so much. Now Barbara and Sheba have a deep understanding, and no one can violate her of this magnificent complicity. Her fetish for the boy was simply a manifestation of her condescension towards the lower classes. The boy is working class, and he likes art, as if he were a monkey who just strolled out of a rainforest and asked for a gin and tonic. During Christmas, Sheba receives a message from Stephen in which he writes, "Happy Christmas, miss. Wish you right now." He comes to her, gives her a present, and asks what's happened. Why she hasn't been writing to him anymore. Sheba informs him that she can no longer see him and asks him to leave. They kiss, and he leaves. Sheba begins to realize that she has fallen in love with her student and doesn't know what to do about it. Barbara continues to describe in her diary what a wonderful friend she has and how similar they are. Meanwhile, Sheba continues to meet with her student, breaking her promise. The veterinarian informs Miss Kovet that her cat Portia will soon die. For Barbara, this news becomes devastating, and she shares her feelings with her beloved friend Sheba. Leaving, Miss Kovet asks Sheba to close her eyes and stroke each other's hands, saying that they always did this in school when someone felt bad. Suddenly, Sheba abruptly pulls away and says that's enough, and Barbara notices that some guy has climbed onto their property. Sheba says it's probably a neighbor boy, and then her phone rings.
Where are you? I've been dreaming about your hot, sweet cunt all morning.
Disappointed in her friend Barbara, now realizes that Sheba hasn't ended her relationship with her student.